Anyone who rebels against the king has a right to kill him without any judgment. We'll go down to the Peirush. This is found in the Tosefta in Trumois, Perek Zayin, Halacha 23. It's brought in Rashi in Shmuel Beis, chapter 20-22. Anyone who rebels against the kingdom of David is liable for Misa. Rambam doesn't say only against the kings of David. Afilu, and even if he didn't rebel, just the king edicted, goes al echad mishar am sheyelech lemokim ploni. He said to someone of the nation to go to a certain place, he didn't go. Or she goes all say mi he said he shouldn't leave his house. He went out. Chayev miso. He's liable for death penalty. The Moetzes, if the king wants lahogoi because he left, Yori, he can be killed. But it doesn't seem to be an obligatory obligation. Shenemar says by Yeshua said, Kol isha sheyamres picho, any person who shall rebel against you, lo yishma es dvorecho, he will not listen to your words, for what that you shall command him, you shall die. Or Perek Aleph, in Halacha Gimel, we wrote that the Rambam writes that Yeshua had the din of a melech. The Smag, Father Commandment 114, cites that the melech said to Oya Achiti, go to your house. In Shmuel Beis 11:8, he didn't go, because he rebelled against the kingdom, and he was liable for death penalty. And he brings from Melochim Aleph, Shlomo HaMelech said to Shimi ben Gera, shouldn't go out of Yerushalayim. He went out of Yerushalayim to bring back his two slaves that fled. So Shlomo said to him, he's liable for death penalty because he didn't listen to his voice. Like the Alma says, the king made an edict that so-and-so shall not leave his house, and he goes out, he's liable for a death penalty. So too, anybody who anyone denigrates the king or who he curses him, who says bad things about him, the king has a right to kill him. We find that David explained to Shlomo why he has to take care of Shimon ben Gera, because when he fled from Avshalom, as we find in Melochim 1, chapter 2, Posuk 8, Kidlani killers in Moetzes. He cursed him with many terrible curses, and he was liable for the death penalty. Therefore, you shall cause him to die, because that he's liable for, Shimi was liable for death penalty. And the king only can kill with one type of weapon. There are 4 different deaths that are permitted that the Bezdin can do. Abba Mises Bezdin, which is Skilo Shrei V'Chereg V'Chenek. Here we have only Hereg, which is with a sword. As we find in Hilchos Sanhedrin 14, Halacha Beis, Bezdin has 4. And the king only has the sword. He can also cause somebody to be put in jail and to be stricken with beaten with rods in order to give glory to the king. And Yisrael wanted from Chavam, he should make it easier upon them. And he said, my father punished you with rods, because he seems to indicate that the king is allowed to do that. Yafkid Momoin, he has no permission to give money. If he did, Hareze Gezel, it is theft. That was Lo Yafki, he's not allowed to take out from the person money. If he does do so, it's theft. Now, what the Rambam says, anybody who rebels against the king has the right to kill him. It's found in the Tosefta in Trumois, 7th Perek, Halacha Gimel. Somebody who rebels against the kingdom of David is liable to Misa. Rava Brisk writes, questions, even Mal Yisrael, there's a din of they can't rebel against them, and he answers the kingdom of David because he was disagreeing with who was chosen to be the king, that David's children were chosen to be king. David was liable for death, and it seems so from his language. When it says, the Rambam says, whoever rebels against the king of Israel, the king has permission to kill him. It's not an obligation to kill him. Only the king himself has to kill him, because the rebeller against other kings of Israel is not liable to the death penalty. But somebody who rebels against the house of David is liable to the death penalty, like the Tosefta, that every person has to kill him. And he brings from Sanhedrin. Therefore, Yerovam was afraid that if he'll sit in the Azorah, they will kill him, because he will be a rebeller against the kingdom of David. And however, the Rambam learned this din from Yeshua, that he was not from Beis David. Every Melech has permission to kill the rebeller, but only the king himself is permitted to do so. His questions, since murder Beis David is different from every other rebeller against kingdom, why does the Rambam leave this point out, and he does not answer? Furthermore, there's a difficulty. The Rambam writes, even if he made an edict on anyone, they should go to a certain place, and he didn't go, or he shouldn't leave his house, and he went, he's liable for death penalty. And if he wants to, he can kill him. The Rambam writes, he's liable, even though we're talking about by any king, not just the kings of David. The Igros Moshe questions why the Rambam didn't write anyone who rebels against Melech Yisrael is liable to death penalty, and he explains that time he rebels against the kingdom is not like a death penalty of transgressing other commandments. Rebelling against the king is that the Melech is permitted to kill him if he so desires. If he writes liable to the death penalty, and if so, the king so desires, he can kill him. The king can send others to kill him, and they are obligated to keep his commandment, even if it's not an obligation on everyone. However, when other averos in the Torah, they are obligated to kill him, meaning Bezin is obligated to kill him. Chemet cites from other Achronim the question, why isn't the king obligated to kill the one who rebels? In Perek Beis, we find Melech, a king who forgave his honor, is not forgiven. Mishnah Melech explains, even though the king who forgave his honor is not forgiven, David did not want to kill Shimi, who denigrated him and cursed him. Maybe because David wasn't sure if at that moment he had a din of Melech, because Klal Yisrael went after Avshalom. The Steichemet questions. The Peirush HaMeir himself writes that the king that didn't want to kill the person who rebels against him, he may do so. Like the Rambam in Hilchos Melochim. The Steichemet explains that the intention of that anyone who rebels against the king has permission to kill him, and afterwards he continues, but if he wanted to kill him, he kills him. And so too, anybody who denigrates the king or curses him, the king has permission to kill him, like Shiurim ben Gerer, and since he says it has to do with his desire, he can forgive it. The Steichemet cites in the Halacha, he questions from Yuma 22b that Shaul was punished because he forgave his honor. Every person, it says everybody who will, by Yeshua, anyone who will rebel against what you say, or will contradict what you say, shall die. According to the Rambam, it's only a permission, not an obligation, so why would Shaul be punished? And the answer is, there's a difference between somebody who goes against the king's commands to somebody who denigrates the king. As you find in the Mishnah of Eliezer, and Shaul did not answer those who embarrassed him. Therefore, he was punished because he shouldn't have forgiven his honor. The Chemed questions Rambam. Even somebody who embarrasses the king has permission to kill him, which seems that it's not an obligation. And the Sdei Chemed cites that the Marash Primoy is of the opinion that the king can forgive his honor, and if he doesn't kill the person who rebels of him, he has to give him a different punishment. Machayev adds that's only when he goes against the command of the king. If he denigrates the king, he's not permitted to give him any other punishment. He has to kill him. The Chemin questions. Here the Rambam says that the king has permission, but he's not obligated to kill him. It would seem that even somebody who embarrasses the king, he's not obligated to kill him. He explains the Rambam, according to the Yisrael, that only it doesn't mean to say if he doesn't want to, he shouldn't do so, but rather that the king, he does not transgress anything when he kills a person who went against him, and there's no concept here of killing somebody. Thus, according to the Rambam, if he wants to kill him, he kills him means he's obligated to kill him, but there's no forbiddenness of murder. Shechemin argues that since the Rambam already said somebody doesn't listen to him without denigrating him, there's no forbiddenness of murder. He doesn't, certainly if he embarrasses him, that there's no forbiddenness to kill him. Therefore, the Sechem is of the opinion that the correct answer is like the Mishnah says by Mishnah Eliezer and the Rambam, that even though a melech is not permitted to forgo his honor, still he can forgo, that he should not be murdered, but he has to punish him. And he adds that only he himself cannot forgive it. But if the person who rebelled humbles himself and he comes before the king for chanina, for commutation of his sin, he can forgive him as the king would like. Some Soif and Shuvoisov questions. We don't find in the Torah that there's permission to a king to kill anyone. If the same doesn't and we say that he has fear should be upon you, it's a mitzvah. And so you have permission to kill him. But when it says in your Yeshua, anybody who shall go against what you say and not listen to you shall die. Just be strong and strengthen yourself. And Yeshua wrote it in Yeshua al Pi Hashem, as we find in Bava Basra 14a, certainly that's the din. But the question is how a Novi is permitted to be mechadish something that's not written in the Torah, and how could this halacha come about from that? So, Sam Sofer says that the din is taught from Kol Cherem Asher Yecham in Odam Liyipod Moisimos. Anything which is put into Cherem. Oh, he does be Ramban. It was Masber. Ramban says every Melech Yisrael will say anything. They will fight against a city, or he will say for any other reason this thing is forbidden, and somebody who goes ahead and takes from it, he's liable for death penalty. Therefore, Yonason was Chayav Misa because Shalom Melech said, "So Hashem shall do, and shall add. Yonason will die." Ella, they forgave him. So you see that the Melech has a right to kill. We're continuing. Do you have to judge the person who was rebellious against the kingdom, against the king, with witnesses and warning? In Sevel Mazda Shur, he's questions if you need Adam and Asra, if you need witnesses and warning for Moed B'Malchus, or he's killed even with one echod, even with one witness, without atraa. He writes that there's no right from Shaul that he said to kill Noiv Iyar Kehanim. Bnei Maven cites that Tosfos writes there And in Shabbos 56, Sanhedrin 49 and Shabbos 56, that you have to judge a murder b'malchus. David judged Uriah b'Sanhedrin. The more questions that a Moetzes in Megillah 14b, that somebody rebels the malchus in kingdom, you don't have to judge him. And he answers that you don't have to judge him like other people who are judged from death, but you need to accept witness to know that he was really somebody rebelled. And he explains the Gemara in Megillah that you don't have to judge him. It's to complete his din on that day, whether to merit or to that liability. And not like in Sanhedrin, Amen Bezim and Aleph, at the end of Nefoshes you finish for that day to merit, and the next day for liability. And that's why Abigail questioned David, do you do the end of Nefoshes at night? He should have done it only by day, because it says Neged HaShemesh. And David answered, Moev Malchus is not like other than Nefoshes that you'd have to do it the next day, but you can end it even at night. Yerushalmi, it's brought down, she asked, do you do the Nefoshes at night? And David said that it was completed by day. So that's a machlokes between the Bavli and Yerushalmi if he was killed at night. That's regarding novel. Thus we find that from what she said, that you have to judge the Nefoshes regarding witnesses. It seems that you do not have to have warning, and the whole difference is whether you don't have to judge and wait till tomorrow. You can judge even to death by the day. Rabbi Yehuda explains that according to Rashi, Rabbi Yochanan and Shlokish disagree if you have to judge a person who is rebellious against the kingdom, and he answers that that's the Sugya on Sanhedrin is Rabbi Yochanan, says you do have to do so, and the Sugya Megillah is accords with the Reish Lakish that you don't have to judge him. And the Rabbi Yehuda continues that the Rambam is of the opinion that anybody who rebels against the king has a right to kill him, as we find in Megillah. If somebody is murdered Malchus, you don't have to judge him. And he adds that what Tosis wants to answer the difference in the sugyas and to make a differentiation, that what it says in Megillah, that you do not have to judge him like other people who are liable for death penalty, and he has to accept the witness to know if he was a rebellious person is not a definite halacha. The Rambam and Rashi disagree if you have to have witnesses at all. The later commentaries question on the Rambam, what he says, anybody who denigrates the king or embarrasses him or curses him, the king has a right to kill him, like Shimon ben Gera from Hilchos Sanhedrin. That Amikal Melech Loikis, somebody who curses the king gets malchus. So the question is, Chayim Mises Bezin do not get malchus? The answer is, since the killing is only a permission, it's a question if the Melech will kill him. Therefore, is the questionable death does not cause him to not have to receive lashes. He says that the obligation of Misa, when somebody rebels against the king, is Divrei Kabbalah. When you get Malchus, is Divrei Torah. Shimon ben Gera, who cursed David when he fled from Avshalom, it would seem that even when David ran away, he had a din of Melech. The Mishnah is Rabbi Eliezer on the Yishalev question from Yerushalmi that David atoned for sin like an individual when he ran away from Avshalom, and then Melech is obligated to bring not a kizbah, but rather a male goat, and therefore he didn't have a din of Melech. But Amarit, Peirush say that therefore David himself didn't kill his Shimi, because at that moment he didn't have a din of Melech. Even if he had a din of Melech, as it would seem from the Rambam here, the Mosdos Chayav to kill, he has the permission to do so, and therefore he did not kill him. Editorial note is that we find the reason of Sophic is because of that. David commanded Shlomo, his son, they should find a way that Shimei will rebel against him, and then he'll definitely be liable for Misa. We find the Rambam writes, the king has no right to kill only with a sword. Akiva cites that he heard from Zelmela of Vilna, and the Rambam learned this from what David mentioned only sword when he said to Shimei ben Gera, if I will kill you with a sword. That other means he didn't have to mention the other types of death, because the Melech can only kill with a sword. And we see the Lashon of Rambam is very exact. He says, V'chein, and so everybody who embarrasses the king like Shiurim ben Gera, and the Melech has no reshus to kill only with a sword alone, because from the action of Shiurim ben Gera we learn there's no reshus to the Melech to kill only b'sayif. The Moetzes adds, every place that we find in the Posuk Misa b'dei Malchus, it only mentions hereg, which is a sword. Abzalmela in Volozhin in the Chazon cited a Sefta. 4 Misas were given to Bezdin, skills Cheneg, and the permission was not given to the king only with a sword, as this Sefta is found in Sanhedrin Perek Tes, Halacha Gimel. The Milchus Chinuch questions. In Milchus Sanhedrin says Yeshua Sorav is Achon. Sorav is not with a sword. It seems like a king can do so even with a Misa Sreifa, which is pouring molten lead down someone's throat. And even though in the Posuk it says She Sokal, it was stolen and not burnt, but the question still remains, he didn't kill him with a sword. How could that be? The Milchus Chinuch answers that he did not die because of murder of Malchus, but more because of Kvod Shamayim. And therefore, he had permission to kill him in any way, shape, or form, but only the one who rebels against the king has no right to be killed only by sword. But presumably it should only be from the 4 types of Misa that are not considered cruelty. They're not called cruelty. By killing, it says the Melech wants to kill, the Melech has permission to kill. But it says, and he can put him in jail and to have him stricken with staffs as well for his glory. That means he can't leave him go without some sort of a punishment, like the Rash Primo that we mentioned earlier. Hadvar Avram says that the forbiddenness of he should not take away a person's money. If he did so, he is a thief. It's only when he does it for his own glory and for himself. But for any other reason, he can take away the people's money, as we find in Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah, that a melech that placed on every person, every city, a set tax from year to year, and every edict that he made, that anyone who will transgress it will they'll take away his assets. It's not Gezel, but the king has that permission to place a tax for that, but not for his own glory. Milchus Chinuch questions, since the king has permission to kill somebody who rebels against him, why can't he make the money public money? It can't be that his money should be more so than his physical body. If he can take away his body, he can never take away his money. Even though in Bava Kama was brought down that he's permitted to kill him, you're allowed to kill somebody who's a Moetzes. You can't take his money. The Moetzes is not the same to Murder Malchus. That his assets go to the king and not to his heirs. Anybody who rebels against the king. And he explains that it could be that the law that a king cannot take the money of someone else without reason is talking when he's not obligated to death. If somebody is liable to the death penalty, that the king wants, if he only wants to take away his money, he may do so. And that would seem to be, he says in conclusion, That's simple and clear that that's what it means.